Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Shane McGuigan, all the way from Texas. How you doing?
Dallas, yeah, mate. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Looking forward to a more normal festive season, I guess, than you are out there. Just before
Yeah,
we talk about the fight and stuff, how are you finding it being away from your family and from the country over the Christmas season?
yeah. I mean, not ideal, but this is it's been a bit of a different year, isn't it? So, just kind of got to just get on with it, really. Luke's in the same boat, so the two of us are out here, and we just said today's a Thursday, and that's it. It's just a normal week in camp, and we can't be thinking, it's Christmas Eve or Christmas tomorrow. So we got a punching session scheduled today, and then we got a circuit later on. And tomorrow on Christmas we'll have a punching session in the morning, and then a 5 mile run in the evening. So be a bit different. and it's bloody cold out here as well. It's 0 degrees this morning when we were walking to the shop. So it's not warm.
Do you at least get a turkey salad or anything for lunch tomorrow?
I've just bought some sliced turkey, so I might have turkey and eggs or something tomorrow.
Well, there you go.
Tomorrow morning.
Pay homage to the usual Christmas festivities.
Yeah.
Luke's obviously not been out for a while. A lot of fighters are in the same position, but this is a very important fight. What have you guys been doing to kind of keep him fresh and keep him motivated and ticking over during the last year?
Yeah, it's been a very frustrating one, really. The WBC ordered the fight, in December, and we were scheduled to box in that Mexican 2019. At the end of 2019, we were going to go out and box on the DAZN show in Mexico. And I spoke to Eddie and said, look, it's probably not a wise idea to, not that we would have risked like losing or anything. It would have just been more for the WBC's perspective. So he said, look, I'll have this made real quick against Fortuna for the title, because obviously Haney had an operation, and it took a while to get made, and then obviously it was scheduled for end of April. Went into lockdown, everything got pushed back, and it's just been a severely frustrating one. But we just cracked on, really. His last fight was against Lomachenko, and at that stage, in my opinion, Lomachenko was pound for pound the best. You know what I mean? Obviously, he lost against Teofimo Lopez, but he didn't really throw a punch for the first 5 or 6 rounds, and then I thought he won the majority of the rounds when he did start working. So there was rumours that he had injuries. He's gone in for another surgery afterwards. So I don't think the Lomachenko that Lopez boxed was the same one that Luke boxed, and Luke lost that fight, but he put up a good performance. Hurt Lomachenko a couple of times, so you got to take a lot of the positives out of it. Yeah, we're going to be out of the ring for a long time by the time we step in there, but we've had quality sparring, and he's been in the gym for a long time, and he's been as active as he can be without obviously fighting.
How easy is it, or challenging, to find someone similar, or several people similar to Ryan Garcia style-wise for the sparring?
It hasn't been easy at all. I was going to bring in, so I spoke to Robert Garcia because keep in contact with him, and he had a couple of guys. He had a guy that boxed Ryan Garcia 4 times in the amateurs, and they were 2-2. He signed to Top Rank. He was going to send him over, but we were trying to jump through hoops left, right, and centre to try and get somebody over, and we just couldn't get anybody. The only way we could have brought them in is if they had a boxed over here. So it was very frustrating, but managed to get in contact with Paul Reddy at STN Management, and they look after Dalton Smith, and he put a call into Grant, and Grant said, yeah, we'd love to send him down, and Dalton's been fantastic work. And we also had a kid called Adam Azim as well, who's just had his pro debut not that long ago, but only 18, but incredibly fast hands, really, really quick, quite tall as well. So we've had a good blend of like speed and power, someone that sort of sits in the pocket a little bit more, and someone that's just come from the amateurs that uses his feet. So, I think we're as prepared as we could have been. I don't think we would have got any better sparring over here in the States. So quite happy with it, really.
How's Luke been looking in the build-up to this compared to in the build-up to the Lomachenko fight?
He's been looking good, really, really good in this one. In the Lomachenko camp, obviously, he had a bicep injury, so we had to limit a little bit the sparring, and he had a lot of rehab on that pre the fight. So I feel like this camp's gone even better than than the Lomachenko camp. I mean, he's been completely injury free. His weight's been good. He's been performing all the time. He's linked up with a guy called Scott Robinson as well. He's been looking after his nutrition, and he's given him a few tips, which is just nice to sort of. Luke's always eating well. He's always drunk all the fluids and stuff. But from a rehydration standpoint, he's been getting in really good electrolytes, and he just feels like his body's strong and he's recovering really well. And even though he's 33, his biological age is probably about 25. So, he looks like he's fresh-faced, and there's definitely no miles on the clock.
I dread to think what my biological age must be.
And me.
What do you make of Ryan Garcia? How do you assess him? Is he a prospect? Is he a contender? Is he somewhere in between?
I think he's a contender now. I think he's out of the prospect stage. I think he's had 20 fights. He's knocked a lot of guys out. He knocked out that Filipino Duno in pretty good fashion, who looks quite durable. He'd been fed a lot of super featherweights, lighter guys, but his last couple of fights, he's boxed guys that have been at lightweight for a while, and he's put on good performances. He's linked up with Eddie Reynoso as well, so he's definitely a dangerous challenge for like a veteran fighter like Luke, someone that's he's had his chances at world titles, but I personally believe it's come too soon for Ryan Garcia, and I think he's been fed guys that he's been more than capable of beating, and he hasn't had the real acid test yet, where he's had to. This isn't going to be an attritional fight. It's not going to be a durable fight where they're going to be standing in like Gatti Ward. This is going to be a thinking fight. It's going to have to keep concentration for a long time, and that's something that Luke's really good at. He's good at taking your shots away from you and making guys switch off, and then as they start switching off, he just picks up the rounds. And I'm not sure Ryan Garcia looks like he's got a bit of ADD, or he's super like busy, just can't concentrate. So 3 or 4 rounds in, if he's running out of ideas, he's in a dark place with Luke Campbell, because Campbell can hold focus. So he's just beat me twice at chess the last 2 days. So he's holding focus. He can, and he builds on rounds as it goes on. So I don't think he's a prospect. I think he's a contender. I think he's a very talented kid, but I'm not sure if he's got the mindset yet.
Yeah, there was rumours of him stepping up to fight Jorge Linares, and then it turned to Luke, obviously with the WPC situation. It just seemed like Luke has the kind of positives in terms of Linares for Garcia, and that it's a good name on his record. He's a veteran, very good fighter, but Luke doesn't have Linares' vulnerabilities. Would you go
if I was Garcia, I would have chose Linares. I think his best days are behind him. He's fast. He's got decent pop, but as you say, he does have vulnerabilities, and I mean that kind of looks like a contradiction, because Linares obviously beat Luke on a split, but I still feel like that was Luke's big sort of test at that stage, and it was like he's linked up with me since and stuff, and I feel like he's getting better all the time. So Linares as well, I think he struggles to get down to lightweight, whereas Luke makes it quite comfortable, and maybe that's where the vulnerabilities lie, with Linares is dropping too much weight. So if I was Garcia's team, I think it would have been an easier fight for more credit than beating Luke.
Let's look at 2020 as a whole. Obviously, Luke's about to have his big fight at the start of next year, but You've had your other three guys have all been out, all had some activity, which is a good position to be in. We saw Chris Billam-Smith and Anthony Fowler both put on very good performances at fight camp. Although you've only been able to get them out once, similar situation to everyone out there, how pleased are you with how they've developed this year?
Yeah, I mean, Fowler's actually he's boxed twice. He boxed that sort of farcical fight where the guy had those boots on, and then that was in March the 7th, I think it was.
I was on the Scotland.
And then that was our first one together, but obviously that wasn't really much of a test. And then he boxed Adam Harper, which I think showed a lot of improvement. Showed like he was using his attributes a lot better, using his height. Previously he was rolling and sort of walking forward, and he's got big long arms and he's a hard puncher and he's got a great jab, and I think he neglected that because he was getting so much success early on in his career, just blowing guys out of there.
Yeah.
But obviously he came up short against Scott Fitzgerald, and from a tactical standpoint, he could have just kept it long with him, and he didn't have to go having trade ups with him and forcing the fight. If you got the height and size, you should be getting them to press the fight and you countering them. So, I think I always watched Fowler in the amateurs. I always thought he was a talented guy. Used his height and his range and good timing. So just trying to get that back into him, and sort of for now with Fowler, it's just making sure that he's doing the fundamentals right. He's getting good quality sparring. He's going to be out on January the 30th, and it hasn't been announced yet. We're still trying to confirm an opponent. Hopefully, we can get an opponent confirmed pretty soon. Probably, most likely, an international opponent, but on the Josh Kelly Evencian undercard. So he's been in camp, and obviously I've gone away. But he did 10 rounds of sparring today, so he's in a good place. And it's nice to see him develop. I think he's got a good chin. He's got very good power. He's very physical. He's got a lot of attributes. I think one thing that he lacks is just guidance, and understanding what he does well and what he doesn't do well. And sometimes a fighter doesn't quite understand that, until it's sort of slapped on your forehead. So, for him, I'm happy with where he's at the moment. I'm really excited about 2021. He's 29 years of age. He does need to push on. He's had a lot of amateur fights. He's had a lot of wear and tear on his body. And for me, I'm saying to him, just forget these domestic fights, even though he wants to avenge the defeat against Scott Fitzgerald. If Scott Fitzgerald can't keep hold of himself and can't keep himself on the straight and narrow, then you may as well just crack on. Your whole career shouldn't be defined by one fight. And I want him to move on to even potentially European level and world level as soon as possible, because there's some reasonably easy fights up there at fringe world level, and you can get stuck waiting around for Fitzgerald, all these domestic fights being made, and these guys pricing themselves out. And I've had the same sort of thing with Lawrence Okoli last year. People just pricing themselves out, and even with Chris Billam-Smith, he was supposed to box Dion Juma, and Juma pulled out, and we asked so many people in the UK to have the fight, and they all priced themselves out. So, unfortunately, that's just the way boxing is with no crowds at the moment, and the licensing fee is covering the whole purses. It's the purses are down a little bit, and you just got to take your opportunity. So with Fowler, I really want him to crack on, but he's in a good place. And with Chris, Nathan Frawley didn't really put up much of a test. I was expecting a little bit more from him. And we had a good camp for the Dion Juma fight, but he pulled out saying that he had laser eye surgery, but it's come about, I think, now that he has a retina tear. Wow. And I'm not sure that he will be in shape to be boxing anytime soon. So I don't think it was a full sort of rupture, but I think there's a retina damage there, and you never know how long that's going to take to heal. So Tommy McCarthy just won the European title. I think that's a very winnable fight for Chris Billam-Smith. And if we can't get the British title, then we'll have to crack on to European level. And I'd like him to stay 4 or 5 fights at European level before pushing on to world, really, because he still needs a little bit more Still needs a little bit more maturity, and he still obviously wants to avenge that defeat to Richard Riakporhe.
Do you have a different kind of satisfaction when it comes to Chris, because you've had him from very early on, but also he hasn't come with that amateur pedigree that the other three guys in your camp have?
Yeah, I think he only had 43 amateur fights, and he only won about 31 of them, so or 30 or something. So he was boxing a long time, but he didn't get a lot of sparring, he didn't get a lot of fights, and he went up for a GB select about 5 times and kept getting turned away. So for me, it is pretty satisfying to see him. Also, when I took him on, I had Frampton at the time, I had Taylor, I had Groves in the gym. I had a lot of really established fighters. I didn't really need to take him on, but he was a really reliable lad. I used to ring him 2 days. If someone pulled out for sparring, I'd ring him, and he'd always come down in and spar George. And I saw the enthusiasm with him, and I also saw that he could only box one way. He could only box going left. He just jab, moved off, dropped back, and he had surgery in his shoulder. He hadn't been taught how to punch properly. And for me, I thought I saw a lot of athletic potential, and I saw his toughness. He could take a decent shot, and he didn't. He kept coming back. Obviously he was sparring a super middleweight at the time, but everyone knows that George was a hard punching super middleweight, and also used to walk around at about 84 kilos. So, for him jumping in and sparring, there wasn't too much of a weight discrepancy. And, I saw a lot of potential in him. And, he had one stoppage in his whole 43 amateur fights, and now he's 11-1 with 10 knockouts. And, it just shows that if you really learn how to turn your weight over and punch properly, you don't have to be naturally incredibly heavy-handed. You just need to be able to pick your shots properly, because with them 10-ounce horsehair gloves on, and you can do a lot of damage. And I think in the lighter weights, it really goes down to the people that are naturally quite heavy-handed, because they're used to that volume of punches. Whereas when you go up the weights, you just have to be. You have to be busy, you have to be accurate, and you can get guys out of there. And I think that's what Chris has learned. And he's taken a lot of experience going out to spar Bradis. He's probably done. Him and Lawrence have probably done 400 or 500 rounds together. Like they well, maybe not that much. Probably 300 rounds together. They spar a couple of times a week. For the last 18 months or whatever it's been, and that's just unbelievable experience for the two of them, because they're bringing each other on left, right, and centre.
Then you've got Lawrence, of course. How challenging was it to have the build-up to the world title fight with Glavotsky? He pulls out for understandable reasons, but then there's the search for an opponent, which took a while, and then you've got a guy come in at very short notice. I mean, Lawrence did exactly what you're supposed to do with an opponent who's not at your level. He got rid of it in very good fashion. But how frustrating was it in the build-up?
Oh, it was frustrating, but like this whole year, as I said before, has been very frustrating. And the annoying thing is that we pushed it all back to box on AJ's card, and he was guaranteed good money, and he was guaranteed almost like a world title bonus, as it were, if he got the victory. So he was really excited to go on that card, and not only was that taken away with a with a world title challenge almost. It was like, we're boxing a southpaw, and the next thing you know, we're boxing a stand-up straight orthodox. So we got a spar in with an orthodox guy, and they're like 8 days out or something. So, but look, Lawrence is going to push on. It's not too much of a setback for him. He's still got that guaranteed, world title money coming in, and opportunity, and in the not too distant future. I think we're probably going to look for March date. Glowacki was we asked for it a bit earlier, but I think they've asked for it around March. So because for instance, Luke got COVID, and he was out for 2 weeks, and he wasn't in the best of shapes, but it didn't set him back from a physical standpoint. Didn't really affect his lungs, didn't affect his breathing. Whereas I know like certain other boxers and athletes have been really set back for months on end. So and apparently Povetkin, he was going to be boxing white, and now he's not boxing white, probably because of those reasons. So You know, we were lucky with Luke, but you know, with Lawrence, look, he'll get his world title shot in March or whatever, and 2021 is going to be a huge year for him.
And let's just look outside your stable if we can before I have to let you go. It's not been the busiest year, but there's still been plenty of highlights. Who for you outside of your team is the British fighter of the year?
Oof, British fighter of the year. Hard to say really, because not many people have boxed. You know, obviously AJ had a good win. Was Fury against Wilder? That was in January, wasn't it, or February? Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to go with Tyson Fury. That was a huge win. You know, and then no one else really is put on a like huge performances. So I'd probably go with Tyson Fury.
And what's the best fight you've seen?
Zepeda versus Baranchek. It's got to be the one, because you know, so many knockdowns. It was a great fight, and every time they hit each other clean, they would go in. There was about five knockdowns apiece, I think it was, or 4, 9 knockdowns, or whatever it was in 5 rounds. So it was a phenomenal fight. Big fan of that one.
Great stuff. Well, I'm going to let you go. It's going to be a very busy, important week or so for you still until the fight. But very best of luck. Obviously, pass on our best wishes to Luke as well. And
will do, Danny. Appreciate it.
Obviously, you're missing Christmas and everything, but hopefully you can bring the interim belt back and Luke one of his best wins of his career.
Let's hope. Yeah, we've done all the prep, so let's just go out there and put on the best performance of his career.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate, and take care.
Cheers, Danny. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.